come on, Leonard. I am spoon-feeding this to you.
Have you ever wondered what's hidden behind the laughs and quirky moments of a sitcom like The Big Bang Theory? The Big Bang Theory may have had you laughing out loud, but it's also been at the center of numerous controversies that might surprise you. Let's dive into the fascinating world of The Big Bang Theory and uncover the secrets, disputes, and surprising facts that almost killed the show. Stereotypes about nerd culture. Nerd culture has become a significant part of modern popular culture, often celebrated for its unique contributions to society. However, The Big Bang Theory's portrayal of nerd culture has been a double-edged sword, praised for bringing it into the mainstream while also criticized for reinforcing negative stereotypes. The central characters, Sheldon, Leonard, Howard, and Raj, are portrayed as brilliant scientists with significant social awkwardness and eccentricities. While these character traits provided much of the show's humor, they also perpetuated stereotypes about nerds being socially inept and disconnected from normal society. For instance, Sheldon's need for rigid routines and his lack of understanding of social norms are often exaggerated to comedic effect, sometimes at the expense of representing nerds in a more nuanced and positive light. Characters often face social situations where their nerdy interests and behaviors are depicted as out of place or bizarre. This not only reinforces the idea that being a nerd is synonymous with being socially awkward, but also suggests that nerds must conform to mainstream behaviors to be accepted. While the show does celebrate certain aspects of nerd culture, such as comic books and science fiction, it also frequently uses these interests as the butt of jokes, thereby reinforcing a narrow view of what it means to be a nerd. Comparing The Big Bang Theory with other shows like Silicon Valley and Stranger Things, we see different approaches to nerd culture. While Silicon Valley also highlights the awkwardness of tech entrepreneurs, it does so with a more critical lens on the tech industry itself. Stranger Things, on the other hand, presents nerds as multi-dimensional characters whose interests and quirks are part of their heroic qualities, rather than mere sources of humor. The impact of The Big Bang Theory on nerd culture extends beyond the screen. The show has arguably contributed to the mainstream acceptance of nerd culture, making it more cool to be a nerd. However, this mainstreaming has also led to a sanitization and commercialization of nerd culture, where certain aspects are celebrated while others are marginalized. This duality has sparked debates within the nerd community about authenticity and representation. The portrayal of nerd culture in The Big Bang Theory has been both a blessing and a curse. While it has brought increased visibility and acceptance, it has also reinforced stereotypes that may not fully capture the diversity and richness of nerd culture. Understanding this balance is crucial in appreciating the show's impact and the ongoing conversations it has inspired. Gender pay disparities. One of the most publicized controversies surrounding The Big Bang Theory was the significant pay disparity between the male and female cast members. This issue not only sparked internal discussions among the cast, but also contributed to broader debates about gender equality in Hollywood. Jim Parsons, Johnny Galecki, and Kaley Cuoco, the leading stars, received substantially higher salaries than their co-stars Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch. This disparity became a focal point for discussions about gender inequality, especially in the entertainment industry where male actors often earn more than their female counterparts. Initially, Bialik and Rauch were not part of the core cast, which might have contributed to the initial pay gap. However, as their characters became more integral to the show, the pay disparity became more apparent and problematic. The issue came to a head during contract negotiations in later seasons, where it was revealed that the male leads were earning up to $1 million per episode, while Bialik and Rauch's salaries were significantly lower. The controversy culminated in the main cast members agreeing to take a pay cut so that Bialik and Rauch could receive a pay raise. This gesture, while commendable, also highlighted the systemic issues within the industry regarding pay equity. The incident underscored the importance of transparency and fairness in compensation, encouraging other productions to scrutinize and address their own pay practices. The gender pay gap in The Big Bang Theory is reflective of a larger issue within Hollywood and many other industries. Studies have shown that women, on average, earn less than men for the same work, and this gap is often wider in high-profile, high-paying fields like acting. The controversy around the show's pay disparities helped to bring greater awareness to this issue, contributing to ongoing efforts to achieve pay equity. The gender pay disparity controversy in The Big Bang Theory serves as a critical case study in the broader fight for gender equality in the workplace. It underscores the need for continuous advocacy and structural changes to ensure that all individuals, regardless of gender, are compensated fairly for their contributions. Mayim Bialik's op-ed on sexual harassment. Mayim Bialik, who played Amy Farrah Fowler, found herself at the center of a storm after writing an op-ed for the New York Times addressing sexual harassment in Hollywood. Her piece was intended to contribute to the important Me Too conversation, but ended up sparking significant backlash. In her article, Bialik suggested that dressing modestly and avoiding certain situations could protect women from harassment. Many readers interpreted this as victim blaming, arguing that her comments implied that those who experience harassment could have prevented it by behaving differently. The backlash was swift, with critics accusing Bialik of not fully understanding the complexities of sexual harassment. The op-ed detailed Bialik's personal experiences in Hollywood, where she had often felt out of place due to her unconventional looks and modest clothing. She intended to highlight how her choices had shielded her from some of the industry's more predatory behaviors. However, the nuances of her message were lost in the public outcry, which focused on the implications that victims were responsible for their own harassment. Bialik later apologized for her comments, clarifying that she did not intend to blame victims of harassment. However, the controversy had already left a mark, affecting her public image and sparking discussions about the responsibilities of public figures when addressing sensitive issues. The op-ed and its fallout underscored the complexities of discussing deeply personal and societal issues in a public forum. The controversy surrounding Bialik's op-ed also reflects the broader societal tensions in addressing sexual harassment and victim blaming. The Me Too movement has highlighted the pervasive nature of harassment and the need for systemic change. Bialik's experience demonstrates the challenges faced by individuals who seek to engage in these conversations, particularly when personal narratives intersect with public discourse. Mayim Bialik's op-ed on sexual harassment and the subsequent backlash serve as a reminder of the delicate balance required in discussing sensitive issues. It also highlights the importance of clear communication and empathy in public discussions about complex and deeply personal experiences. The controversy, while challenging, contributed to the ongoing dialogue about how society addresses and prevents sexual harassment. Kaley Cuoco's anti-feminist remarks. Kaley Cuoco, who portrayed Penny, also faced significant controversy after making remarks perceived as anti-feminist in a 2014 interview. Her statements touched off a firestorm of criticism from fans and feminist groups. In the interview, Cuoco stated that she did not consider herself a feminist because she had not faced discrimination in her career. This remark was seen as dismissive of the struggles many women face and sparked widespread backlash. Critics argued that Cuoco's privileged position as a successful actress might shield her from the realities of gender inequality. Cuoco's comments were particularly surprising, given her role in a show that, to some extent, did explore gender dynamics and the professional challenges faced by women in STEM fields, through characters like Amy and Bernadette. Her statement that she enjoyed taking care of her husband and did not identify with the feminist movement was viewed as a rejection of the ongoing fight for women's rights. The controversy affected Cuoco's public perception, although she later clarified her stance, expressing support for gender equality and feminism. This incident highlighted the importance of celebrities being mindful of their words and the potential impact of their statements on public discourse. It also sparked a broader conversation about the definition of feminism and the various ways individuals engage with feminist principles. Cuoco's remarks opened up a dialogue about the diversity of feminist beliefs and the different ways people experience and advocate for gender equality. Her clarification and subsequent support for feminist causes demonstrate the evolving nature of the feminist movement and the importance of inclusive discussions. The controversy surrounding Kaley Cuoco's anti-feminist remarks serves as a reminder of the complexities and sensitivities involved in discussing gender issues. It highlights the need for awareness and understanding, especially for public figures whose words can significantly impact public discourse. The incident also underscores the diverse perspectives within the feminist movement and the ongoing need for inclusive and respectful dialogue. Unauthorized adaptations in other countries. The Big Bang Theory's popularity led to unauthorized adaptations and rip-offs in various countries, creating legal and ethical controversies. One notable case occurred in Belarus, where a local version of the show was produced without permission. The Belarusian adaptation closely mirrored the original, from character archetypes to specific plotlines. This blatant copying led to legal actions from the creators of The Big Bang Theory, highlighting the challenges of protecting intellectual property on a global scale. The unauthorized adaptations raised significant legal and ethical questions. Intellectual property rights are crucial in protecting the creative works of individuals and companies. When these rights are violated, it not only affects the financial interests of the creators, but also undermines the integrity of the creative industry. The case of The Big Bang Theory in Belarus underscores the importance of enforcing copyright laws and the difficulties that arise in a globalized media landscape. Unauthorized adaptations are not unique to The Big Bang Theory. Many popular shows and films have faced similar issues. These incidents highlight the need for international cooperation in protecting intellectual property rights and ensuring that creators are fairly compensated for their work. They also emphasize the need for stricter enforcement and better mechanisms to handle cross-border copyright infringements. The controversy over unauthorized adaptations of The Big Bang Theory serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing challenges in protecting intellectual property in an increasingly interconnected world. It highlights the need for continued vigilance and cooperation to safeguard the rights of creators and maintain the integrity of the creative industry. The Soft Kitty lawsuit. One of the more unusual controversies involving The Big Bang Theory was the lawsuit over the song Soft Kitty, which became iconic through Sheldon's character. The legal battle centered around the song's origin and copyright issues. The lawsuit was filed by the daughters of Edith Newlin, a teacher and author, who claimed that the lyrics to Soft Kitty were taken from a poem their mother wrote in the 1930s. They argued that the show used the song without permission or proper attribution, leading to a lawsuit against the producers and CBS. This lawsuit brought attention to the importance of respecting intellectual property rights, even for seemingly minor elements like a song in a TV show. It also highlighted the complexities of copyright law, especially when it comes to works that may not have been formally registered or widely known. The Soft Kitty lawsuit is a reminder for content creators to be diligent in verifying the origins of the materials they use. It also underscores the potential legal ramifications of failing to do so. This case serves as a cautionary tale for other shows and films to ensure that all elements of their productions are properly licensed and accredited. The lawsuit over Soft Kitty is a unique controversy that underscores the importance of respecting and protecting intellectual property. It highlights the need for thorough research and proper licensing in the creative industry to avoid legal disputes and uphold ethical standards. Kaley Cuoco and Johnny Galecki's real-life relationship. Another controversy that garnered significant media attention was the real-life relationship between Kaley Cuoco and Johnny Galecki, who played Penny and Leonard on the show. Their off-screen romance and eventual breakup sparked much speculation and gossip. Cuoco and Galecki dated secretly for almost 2 years before breaking up amicably. They managed to keep their relationship private for a significant period, even as speculation grew among fans and media. The eventual revelation of their relationship and breakup led to a media frenzy, with many wondering how their off-screen dynamic would affect their on-screen chemistry. Despite their breakup, Cuoco and Galecki maintained a professional relationship and continued to portray their characters' romance convincingly. This professionalism was commendable and demonstrated their commitment to the show and their roles. However, the media attention on their personal lives occasionally overshadowed the show itself. The relationship and subsequent breakup highlighted the challenges actors face in separating their personal and professional lives. It also underscored the intense scrutiny public figures are under and the importance of maintaining professionalism in the entertainment industry. Which controversy surrounding The Big Bang Theory do you find the most interesting? And how has it shaped the way you see the show? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Your support helps us bring more exciting topics to the surface.
Do you have any scars anywhere? Have you been maimed in the years that you've bummed, as they say, bummed around?
This isn't always what makes a life tough.
Charles Bronson was a legendary American actor, known for his intense portrayals of tough, no-nonsense characters on screen. With a commanding build and a stare as piercing as a blade, Bronson had a reputation for playing hardened roles that made audiences feel both intimidated and captivated. Although his on-set demeanor could be distant and cold, and he wasn't known for forming close friendships with his co-stars, there was one person who broke through his rough exterior: actress Jill Ireland. Their love story was one of Hollywood's most memorable romances, though, unlike a fairy tale, it didn't have a perfect ending. Join us as we explore this compelling journey of Bronson's life, marked by strength, passion, and heartbreak. Bronson's story began on November 3, 1921, in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, a small town in the coal mining region of the Allegheny Mountains, just north of Johnstown. He was the 11th of 15 children in a large Roman Catholic family of Lithuanian descent. Growing up, he and his siblings took turns sleeping in their cold water shack, just a few yards away from the coal car tracks that wound out of the mines. Bronson's father, Walter Bukinski, was a Lipka Tatar from the village of Druskininkai in Lithuania, while his mother, Mary, was born in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, to Lithuanian immigrant parents. As a child, Bronson rarely heard English spoken at home, a familiar experience for many first-generation American children of that era. Even as a soldier, his thick accent often led his comrades to mistake him for a foreigner. Besides English, Bronson could also speak Lithuanian and Russian, a reflection of his strong connection to his heritage. In a 1973 interview, Charles Bronson reflected on his distant relationship with his father, saying he never really knew him and couldn't tell if he felt love or resentment towards him. One vivid memory was how he and his siblings would hide whenever their mother announced that their father was coming home. After his father passed away from cancer in 1933, Bronson, still a young boy, had to start working in the coal mines. He began in the mining office but eventually ended up working underground. Bronson recalled earning $1 for each ton of coal he mined, though in later interviews he explained that, due to inflation, he'd actually needed to work double shifts just to make what would now be about $24 a week. The work in the mines was harsh and often dangerous. He and his brother had the perilous task of removing stumps between sections of the mines, where collapses were common. Growing up during the Great Depression, the Bronson family faced extreme poverty. Bronson often went hungry and remembered that his mother could not afford milk for his younger sister, who had to drink warm tea instead. He even had to wear his older sister's dress to school due to their lack of clothing. Despite these challenges, Bronson became the first in his family to graduate from high school. Bronson continued working in the mines until 1943, when he enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces amidst the turmoil of World War II. He joined the 760th Flexible Gunnery Training Squadron and later served as an aerial gunner on a Boeing B-29 Superfortress with the 61st Bombardment Squadron, based in Guam. Bronson flew 25 combat missions over the Japanese home islands, surviving intense combat and earning a Purple Heart for injuries sustained in battle. When the war finally ended, Bronson found himself at a crossroads, feeling directionless until he discovered a new path through the world of traveling theater groups. This fresh start became his entry into acting, setting him on the road to the Hollywood career that would make him famous. After World War II, Charles Bronson took on various odd jobs to make ends meet. One of these jobs led him to a theatrical group in Philadelphia, where he initially worked painting scenery. Before long, he started getting small acting parts, beginning his gradual transition into the world of performance. Later, in New York City, Bronson shared an apartment with aspiring actor Jack Klugman, who would go on to achieve his own fame in Hollywood. Eventually, Bronson made his way to Hollywood to pursue formal training at the Pasadena Playhouse, a renowned acting school that has trained many successful actors. His first uncredited film appearance came in 1951 when he played a sailor in You're in the Navy Now, directed by Henry Hathaway. As the story goes, Bronson landed the role because he was the only actor on set who could burp on command, an unusual skill that helped him get his foot in the door of Hollywood. In 1951, Charles Bronson continued to build his filmography with roles in The Mob and The People Against O'Hara, both directed by John Sturges. The following year, he appeared in an impressive lineup of films, including The Bloodhounds of Broadway, Battle Zone, Pat and Mike, Diplomatic Courier, My Six Convicts, also directed by Henry Hathaway, The Marrying Kind, and The Red Skies of Montana. He even sparred in the boxing ring with Roy Rogers on the TV show Knockout, and appeared in a humorous boxing skit as Cauliflower McPug on The Red Skelton Show. Bronson also shared the screen with Lee Marvin in an episode of Biff Baker USA, a CBS espionage series. In 1953, Bronson took on one of his most memorable early roles as Igor, Vincent Price's sinister assistant, in the horror classic House of Wax, directed by André de Toth. To prepare for the part, Bronson, whose character was mute, studied sign language, bringing an extra layer of authenticity to his portrayal. Film critic Ben S. Parker of The Commercial Appeal described Bronson's performance as adding mute menace as a deaf and dumb assistant to the madman. The film was a major success, ranking 4th in the U.S. box office for the year and earning an impressive $23 million. In recognition of its cultural and historical significance, House of Wax was added to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2014, ensuring its preservation as an iconic piece of American cinema. In 1954, Charles Bronson adopted his now famous stage name, changing it from Bakinski due to the anti-Soviet climate of the House Un-American Activities Committee hearings, which often cast suspicion on names with Eastern European origins. He drew inspiration for Bronson from the iconic Bronson Gate at Paramount Studios, located at Melrose Avenue and Bronson Street. Bronson's career continued to gain momentum. In 1959, he took on a supporting role in the war film Never So Few, produced by John Sturges. That same year, he made guest appearances on television in episodes of A Yancey Derringer and U.S. Marshal, demonstrating his versatility on both the big and small screens. In 1960, Bronson's breakout role arrived in Sturges's Western classic, The Magnificent Seven, where he portrayed one of the 7 gunfighters fighting to protect a defenseless village. Co-star Eli Wallach described Bronson as a loner who preferred keeping to himself during filming. Despite earning a then-significant $50,000 for the role, a considerable amount today, the film was initially a box office disappointment in the United States. However, it became a massive success in Europe, eventually turning a profit. Harrison's reports praised it as a superb Western, well-acted and crammed full of action, human interest, pathos, suspense, plus some romance and humor. In 2013, The Magnificent Seven was added to the National Film Registry for its cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance. Throughout 1960, Bronson continued appearing in notable TV roles, including episodes of Riverboat, The Islanders, Laramie, and a recurring role in the 2nd season of Hennessy. He first appeared in the episode Hennessy a la Gun, and later in The No Goodnick, which aired in 1961. That same year, he took supporting roles in The Master of the World, directed by William Whitney, A Thunder of Drums by Joseph Newman, and The X-15, directed by Richard Donner. In 1961, Bronson was cast in the television episode The Last Round of One Step Beyond, and co-starred with Elizabeth Montgomery in a classic episode of The Twilight Zone titled 2. He also earned an Emmy nomination for his guest role in the General Electric Theater's Memory in White. The following year, he appeared alongside Elvis Presley in The Kid Galahad. In 1963, Bronson starred in John Sturges's The Great Escape, an ensemble war drama about prisoners of war planning a mass escape. Critics widely praised the film, and the Rotten Tomatoes' consensus applauded its impeccably slow-building story and a cast for the ages, making The Great Escape an all-time action classic. The film earned $11.7 million at the box office on a $4 million budget, ranking as one of the year's highest-grossing films and securing a Golden Globe nomination for Best Picture. It holds the 19th position on the AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills list. Bronson continued starring in American classics, and by 1968, he had firmly established himself in European cinema, becoming a sought-after star across the Atlantic. The filming of Unauthorized marked a turning point for Charles Bronson, as it led to his introduction to the producers of Jean Herman's French film Adieu l'ami. The team was searching for an American co-star to pair with Alain Delon, who was a fan of Bronson's work. Bronson's agent Paul Kohner later shared that the producers appealed to Bronson by highlighting how the American film industry often reserved fame and fortune for pretty boy heroes, whereas in Europe, audiences were captivated by character and depth over appearance. Bronson agreed to the role in December 1967, and the movie was filmed in Marseille and Paris. Adieu l'ami became a tremendous success in France, grossing around $6 million, and cemented Bronson's reputation in Europe. He went on to appear in numerous international productions, with European-made films gaining widespread popularity. TV Guide noted the powerful on-screen chemistry between Bronson and Delon, adding to the film's acclaim. Another European triumph for Bronson was Sergio Leone's classic spaghetti western, Once Upon a Time in the West, where Bronson starred in a lead role. Interestingly, he had previously declined Leone's offer for the leading role in A Fistful of Dollars in 1964. Once Upon a Time in the West was a major hit in Italy, selling 8 million tickets, and in the US, it grossed over $5 million from 3.7 million ticket sales. The film achieved even greater success in France and Germany, selling 14 million and 13 million tickets, respectively. The movie was eventually included in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, recognized as culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. It remains celebrated as one of the greatest westerns ever made and among cinema's timeless classics. Leone himself described Bronson as the greatest actor I ever worked with, underscoring the lasting impact Bronson had on audiences and directors alike. In 1972, Charles Bronson embarked on a successful string of action movie hits for United Artists, beginning with the Michael Winner film Chatto's Land. This collaboration marked the launch of Bronson's production partnership with Winner, which would lead to several more films together in the coming years, including The Mechanic and The Stone Killer. By 1973, Bronson had established himself as the world's leading box office attraction, earning an impressive $1 million per film. Then, in 1974, Bronson took on what would become his most iconic role at the age of 52 in A Death Wish, directed once again by Michael Winner. In this highly popular film, he portrayed Paul Kersey, a successful architect from New York who transforms into a vigilante seeking justice after his wife is brutally murdered and his daughter is assaulted. This film was so impactful that over the next 2 decades, it spawned 4 sequels, all featuring Bronson in the lead role. While The Death Wish garnered significant commercial success, earning $22 million and ranking as the 20th highest-grossing film in the US that year, it also drew criticism. Many found the film to be offensive, labeling it an immoral threat to society and arguing that it encouraged antisocial behavior. Nevertheless, Charles Bronson had firmly established himself in the action genre, continuing to pursue similar roles in the years that followed. In 1975, Charles Bronson starred in 2 films directed by Tom Grease, Breakout In and Breakheart Pass, the latter being a Western adaptation of a novel by Alistair MacLean. Unfortunately, Breakheart Pass did not perform well at the box office. However, that same year, Bronson made a significant impact with his role in Walter Hill's directorial debut, Hard Times. In this film, he played a Depression-era street fighter who earns a living through illegal bare-knuckle matches in Louisiana. Hard Times received positive reviews and was the 29th highest-grossing film in the US that year, raking in $5 million at the box office. Renowned film critic Roger Ebert praised it as a powerful, brutal film containing a definitive Charles Bronson performance. In 1975, Bronson reached the peak of his box office appeal, ranking 4th among the top stars, following Robert Redford, Barbra Streisand, and Al Pacino. The following year, he transitioned to a different genre with the Western comedy From Noon Till 3, directed by Frank D. Gilroy. In the same year, Bronson worked with director J. Lee Thompson for the first time on St. Ives. In 1977, Bronson took on the role of Dan Shomron in Irvin Kershner's Raid on Entebbe. a television film based on the real-life Entebbe raid. This film was well-received and won accolades for its all-star ensemble cast. A theatrical version was later released in the UK and across Europe in early 1977, winning the Golden Globe for Best Television Movie and receiving a nomination for the Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Drama or Comedy. That same year, Bronson collaborated again with J. Lee Thompson in Dino De Laurentiis' UA production of The White Buffalo, and he also starred in The Telephony, directed by Don Siegel. Interestingly, Bronson's name came up as the potential star for Raise the Titanic, though he ultimately did not appear in the film. In the 1970s, acclaimed director Ingmar Bergman expressed interest in working with Bronson, but the actor declined, remarking that he found Bergman's films to be dull, stating, "Everything is weakness and sickness with Bergman." This candid statement reflects Bronson's straightforward personality and his selective approach to his career. Charles Bronson auditioned for the role of Superman in the 1978 film adaptation, but producer Ilya Salkind